Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios. Look who's back, Trooper Hagstrom and Sergeant Clifton, 2 weeks in a row. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate it. Tell us what's going on. We haven't seen you. We miss you.
I appreciate it.
We saw you at the Eric Lloyd Park when they were naming that. We thank you for coming out for the to show Nevada State Police and all that type of stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about that because that's a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
And he did a lot for the Injured Police Officers Fund.
Yeah. One of the things that Eric Lloyd did was that it didn't matter what uniform you wore. He was the president of the IPOF, the Injured Police Officers Fund, which helps officers who are injured or killed in the line of duty. And not only he was one of my dear friends, but the thing is that Chelsea Stunkel, who is the IPOF president, was there. So the IPOF is really important. And the IPOF, what it does for all officers is to make sure that, if something ever happens, that, there's an organization that's there. I think of the IPOF in a lot of ways just like Sergeant Smacko when it comes to the internal investigations for the Nevada State Police. Like, there's always somebody there. You know what I mean? And so there are people in the world that just care. They don't want anything. They don't ask for anything. They just tirelessly work, and then they're there for officers.
And that spells out what you do, Neil, especially for the Injured Officers Fund. And they do so much for the officers because if they get injured in the line of duty or God forbid we have a death with one of our officers, that not only do they have the family members and everybody in blue who are the family members that come for them and counselors and people that are able to grieve with them, they're always there to help them set up and make sure that everything goes smoothly with them. But one of the great things that I like it's going on here in Las Vegas, and I'd like to see more of it, is like if we have a fallen officer on the line of duty, I wish they would name a lot of these schools. We got several schools named after some officers that have fallen, like in North Las Vegas. And I think there's a couple other ones.
We have the highways that they just named.
Yeah, for our true troopers. I thought that was great. And then this was actually a park before, but they are redoing everything and they renamed a park. And I thought, what a great memorial, because this gentleman, Eric Lloyd, or I should say Officer Eric Lloyd, did so much for, like you said, not just for his department with Las Vegas Metro Police, but all the officers in the Vegas Valley. And he didn't care what kind of uniform you were wearing. He was always there to help and did a tremendous job being a great president. Chelsea has some big shoes to fill, but I know she's going to get it done. When I was there, I was impressed with her speech. It was rock solid. Had a lot of good things to say, and not only that, I think that she'll do a tremendous job. I mean, she's been around with all of you and worked with everybody, and that's the goal, is to make sure everything goes smoothly for hopefully we don't have as many injured officers or deaths in the future, but we want to be prepared in case something does happen.
Yeah, and the Nevada State Police, we talk about it all the time. You're a sergeant. You could be at your office. You could be doing whatever it is that you do. But instead, you choose to come here to get the word out. You choose to come here with your wife and your child when you just had the little baby to come and just hang out for 15 minutes and just go, oh, this is very exciting. We are family. And so the Nevada State Police, when it comes to who they are one family. Whether you work for probation and parole, whether you're a highway patrol, whether you're a fire marshal, you're all under the same Capitol Police and everything.
That is 100% true. We haven't always been there, but we've made great strides. unique family, like a kind of like a Brady Bunch, where all these agencies formed into one. And it hasn't always been pretty, but now it's so good. Like I was actually talking with my my family last night, and my uncle, he asked me, he was like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And I didn't. He worked for Metro, and I said, "But I could probably name every trooper in the city." So, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of them. I've worked with a lot of them now. 13 and a half years or so. Like, and now we do all of our trainings together. We attend the academies together. So it really is one tight knit family, and people transfer back and forth. I have contemplated working for the Highway Patrol.
Hey, we'll bring it over.
What?
I've contemplated.
Where's Officer McClarty? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, get him to move there.
Yeah.
So. It's a change I haven't made, but maybe one day, I don't know. We'll see. I still have 13 years to go. So.
And you know what? Being a good family like this too, we are, as agencies, getting a lot closer.
Yeah.
Like the last 2 days, my lips are burnt right now. I got a little bit, I got a little bit of sun, and the reason why is P&P and Highway Patrol. They're actually putting on a class, and I did a 2-day firearms class. So the last 2 days, I was out the Las Vegas Metro Range for 2 days for 12 hours. And even with some putting some sun thing, I'm so white anyways, I kind of got fried out there. But they put on a great firearms class that I was extending, doing a little bit, we call it like a red dot class. So I was able to do that the last 2 days, and that was put on by P&P. So I was able to put in for that class, go there. We had one of our NHP instructors there, and we had 3 NHP troops that were able to attend. And like we said, we integrate our training. We're able to do stuff, and they put on a great class. So I was very happy to attend and do that. I think he'll end up doing that down the road too.
I will, yeah. Something like that. So as simple as guns, right? Guns are guns. We didn't carry the same gun. Right? So we were carrying Smith & Wessons. They were carrying SIGs, and that's been, I mean, when I started, I had Smith and they had SIGs. I mean, myself, I preferred the Smith & Wesson, but regardless, we switched over to SIGs, so we had one uniform platform, right? So in case, God forbid something happens, right? We're on the same scene.
We all have the same fire and the magazines to put in. You know what I mean? So it's all universal.
This magazine can go in his gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if he needs it, here you go, buddy. It's yours. So that's just one of the small things. We talk about being one family. Now we got same technology too. So.
Yep, and they're putting all the lights in the cars. They never used to have all the lights in the unmarked cars. And since it merged like Nevada State Police, we're bringing parole and probation, as all state police. We're all state police officers. So then now, even though I'm a trooper and we do a little bit of different job, being Highway Patrol, they have all the lights, all the essentials, the same equipment. So if a trooper needs backup, or let's say P&P at a house, something goes bad or something goes wrong, our troopers get called to assist them on house searches or other issues. So we integrate and make sure that everything happens in an efficient manner.
Or take, for example, this last Friday and Saturday, there was a dignitary in town, presidential candidate, and me, myself, and I am standing on the corner of Sahara and I-15 closing the freeway, right? That's not a P&P job.
Yeah, it never used to be, but now we're bringing them in for that, and there's different stuff that we do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I was acting as a quasi-trooper in a uniform, which is why I have a little less facial hair today.
Now, see, he can grow some face. I can't do that. So that's yeah.
I'm hoping to get the policy changed so they can start wearing beards. But it's like that. We would have never done that even 3 years ago, but the integration is happening is really productive, and there's things that I would like to see happen that they get to do too. There's one of the core functions of our job with P&P is extraditions, and we're flying places, driving places to go pick up our inmates.
Wait, I want to hear about this. No, we've never talked. I don't know what. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, we do have Officer McClarty here who's saying, please, we need recruiting.
Sure.
I don't want to go on a plane, but there are people in the world that like to do these type of activities.
There are.
And I just never thought about the fact of that a person would be in another place that you would have to bring back here.
Yeah, so we have offenders that are allowed to leave the state, and we have some that are just leave the state, right? Either way, the ones that just leave the state, they're going to get a warrant, and then we're going to go pick them up when they get caught, right? The ones that are allowed to leave the state, if they end up violating, then it's a rule of the Interstate Compact that we have to go get them, right? So in the time that I was working in Interstate Compact, I was approving all those extraditions. And I mean, we are obviously a million to California, Arizona, and Utah, right? Idaho. But we have ones as far away. I flew to New York City to pick up an offender. I flew to Pittsburgh. I've flown a couple of times to Iowa.
Wow.
I've driven to California, Arizona, Utah. I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
And it's nice because you get out of the office for one, right? So the state pays for me to fly to Pittsburgh, right? And then so my 10-hour day ends. And then what I would do with my time, I don't know, are the Pirates in town, or the Steelers in town, the Penguins in town? I don't know.
You've done your work.
Yeah.
I've done my work, and then, the state is paying for the hotel because I'm there on work function, right? They're paying for the flight. They're paying for the rental car. They're paying for my meals, right? They don't pay for football tickets, but that's...
so, right, but that's your personal time while you're there, so you're able to enjoy.
Exactly. It's a nice benefit, right? So we go and pick them up, and so we'll fly out, say, on a Monday, right? Tuesday morning, we're at the prison or the jail facility. We pick them up, take them to the airport. We don't go through security because we're literally flying with firearms. It's kind of...
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're with prison.
And it's 2 officers to 1 offender usually, and you're walking through the airport with this guy literally in chains. We try and hide the chains as best as we can, but you get that skinny guy who goes clank, 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 clank through the airport. Everyone knows what's going on. Or you see 2 trimmed officers with a guy with face tats.
Yeah.
It's a little strange.
I mean, I don't travel, but wow.
Yeah, so...
Not to say exciting, but wow.
And, we'll sit in the back row of the airplane. We'll board first. We get off last. That part is not the best part. But, it's actually a nice perk. And I would love to get these guys involved with it. There's a few financial and logistical issues. But, I mean,
we had something similar to that because when we had our flight program with our airplanes, we would fly up to Carson City and bring people back to court all the time. And then when we didn't have the flight program, we still... Well, if there's an extradition that we can just go to California, pick somebody up, we'll do that. But none of this long stuff that they're doing, because I actually have people that are on parole and probation, people that have been in prison before. So ours is a little bit different. Ours might be an arrest warrant for like a murder, and they need to be extradited back to us. So we'll just drive our car down and get them. The thing that really saved us a lot of time is when we had our planes, we'd fly up to Carson City, put them in a plane. There'd be 2 of us and a pilot, and we'd fly them in Vegas, and either they'd get locked up here or attend court. There's all different kinds of things. So this was always going on. We just transport cars. We go from one county, another trooper drops off, and then we just keep transporting these people now. So
we do a lot of the driving ones too. I mean, we can drive to LA and back in 8 hours.
Yeah.
What our primary stops are Rancho Cucamonga, LA County, San Diego, Phoenix, for some reason Hurricane, Utah.
Yeah.
That's a big one, St. George area, right? Those are our big areas, but that's just, it's something I really enjoy doing. And the reason that we go so much farther than they do is because when we have interstate compact offenders, it's not a matter of do we want to pick them up, it's we must.
They have to. Yeah, they have to pick them up.
Yes,
because they're under the prison system now, in the probation. Either they violated, and they've already got judges. These are orders that they have to do it.
Correct. And so the warrants that we put out, as per the Interstate Compact, must be 53 jurisdiction warrants. What I mean by that is it has to be all 50 states plus D.C., Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands.
Every state says, okay, as part of the United States and everything, that if there's a problem, that they have to go pick them up.
Yep. So in the time that I've been working with extraditions, the Northeast, we don't get a whole lot of Maine, Vermont, right? I think I've seen 1 from that area. But we've done almost every state. We did the Virgin Islands. We did Puerto Rico. I I jokingly told the sinners, I said, hey, if you want.
Sergeant Clifton's like, listen, I'm signing up for the Puerto Rico one. I'm going to sit on the beach.
I was just, when he said that, I was thinking he had that extra suitcase with swim trunks.
This is what I'm saying.
He's like, I already did my job. I'm on the beach right now.
He calls up his wife. He says, listen, it's business. I have to go to Puerto Rico.
That's what you
sit on the
say.
beach.
Tell his wife, oh, it's so bad. It's terrible. You don't want to be here.
You don't want to come here.
Well, if it was a hurricane, maybe it'd be different. But yeah,
that one might be a 3D extradition.
That's it. Yeah.
That's very interesting. The last thing I want to get to before we go is that I found out that somebody knows you.
Me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you
is
the
this
deal.
going to be embarrassing or what? No,
maybe.
So one of my dear friends is Governor Sisolak.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so he came in and he was hanging out the other day, and he came in and we were sitting there just chit-chatting and this and that. And then as he was leaving, he said, Trooper Hagstrom, he was on my detail.
I was. I took care. I kept him safe.
Because in the store, I have a picture of Trooper Hagstrom with his coin with his dog that he signed his picture. That's right on the top. And so anyway, he said that you were wonderful.
Great.
And that it's one of the cool things that you don't talk about of the other things that you've done. And it was just kind of groovy because he said he was just a stand-up guy and he was fantastic and we appreciated.
And it was a pleasure to serve him. You know what I mean? And I've
stuff.
served other governors and they've been tremendous. You know what I mean? And what an honor just to be a part of that service to serve them. You know what I mean? So
it's one of the cool things that as a Nevada State Police that you can do.
Yeah.
And just like you said, maybe you do it, maybe you don't do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is to be able to talk to someone who is in that position and say, I'm thinking about this, what are the good things, what are the bad things, what am I going to have to deal with? You know what I mean? All these type of things. And then maybe to one day do it. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to try.
That's one of the I think coolest details.
One of the top details. It's tough to get in. You know what I mean?
It's tough to get in, and you don't necessarily have to be that big bulky dude, right? But you need to have some skills. You have to have tact, and then at the end of the day, the governor's got to like you.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So when we were sitting there, we were just hanging out, just talking. He was here, and you know what I mean. And so he was like, he had nothing but praise for him. And one of the cool things was that he knew him, right? Like it wasn't like, Bob Smith. I don't know. Maybe I have 50 people that work for me. He was probably down in the laundry or something like that. You know what I mean? Or he was protecting the lawn or something. Who knows? But no, like he knew him.
I mean, we're day in and day out with them and their families, protecting them.
Yeah.
So everywhere, every event they did, we advanced them. It's just like Secret Service. I mean, you're doing the same stuff at Secret Service, but at the state level. So we do all the advanced work ahead of time, make sure that we know all the safety exits, where we're going to bring them in, what times. We had to keep the times right because, we got to get the governor in and make sure that his speech starts on time. And then being a governor, they're so busy. They have so many, meetings that they have to attend and everything. So we have to keep certain things short or whatever. And he's got it down to a time thing. So we have to find out the quickest routes and safety routes. If something happens, what other routes are we going to take? I mean, there's a lot of work into it. You know what I mean? And now just to get on like a dignitary protection detail, they require a lot of stuff. Like you got to do the 1.5 mile runs and all the physical fitness. You got to shoot 80% with your firearms and above or whatever. There's so much stringent things that you got to do. So because you're protecting a public official. And they're running the whole state. He's my head boss as the governor.
Right.
So we got to make sure that he's making sure that everything runs efficiently for the whole state. And our main job is to make sure them and their families are protected the whole time and they don't have the issues and they can get where they need to go in a timely manner, but in a safe manner. So, and it was a true pleasure working for him.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
It was really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is cool.
I was actually like, not to say blown away, or you know what I'm saying, but it was just like, it was just cool because he just looked and he goes, oh yeah, Trooper Axler. I go, yeah. I go, I film with him all the time for Trooper Talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was actually impressed. I met one of the, well, not met. I know one of the other guys that was on Sisolak's production, Hind.
Oscar Gordon?
No, Hind.
Oh, Hind. Okay, but Oscar Gordon, he was my partner, and I got to do firearms training with him last 2 days, so I got to talk to him, a little bit and everything. So he's still on the dignitary protection detail right now. So,
but
it's a good thing.
I was going to say, I
want to hear this story
because, this very unfortunate event happened with one of the guys in the detail, and he's telling me all these things the governor did for him. Being there, just coming to his house, giving him things, making sure they have food and stuff. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I guess the governor is a real person, right?
Yeah, they are.
They
are.
Right.
They just got a job.
Because you're used to seeing that kind of, I guess, facade, that message they want to put out. And it's like, no, you actually get to know the actual human being, which is really cool.
We do. Actually, like the families, you're so close.
Yeah.
Because you go to their houses. You're picking them up at their houses and taking them to so you know the whole family. And you meet their relatives. Like if they have different, the whole family. I mean, you become like, I shouldn't say you're part of the family, but I'm just saying that's how close you are because every day you're with them, protecting them while they're doing the whole governorship.
But really though, he's not wrong because you actually are part of the family.
Pretty much,
because you're there, like you said, day in and day out, and you're not making the decisions for the governor. You're not.
You're just standing there, make sure everything's safe for you know what I mean.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's pretty cool to be in that position. I had never really thought about it, and I was talking to Hind, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, because you just feel like politicians are this face, right? And that they have no personality besides their politician. That's just not true. Yeah, actually, and
they got lives, families, just like a lot of people think about officers like ourselves.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
We have families. We have the same beliefs. If a lot of people just sat down and talked to us, some people get a bad impression about police officers, state troopers, whatever. And I'm not going to say that it's all the media's fault, but there's a lot of times that they only put out not the full story, but kind of a different narrative or whatever, and people look at you differently. But it takes a special person to do this job, and you got to care about your community. You want to do good things for your community because we live there too. We go to the schools, the churches, everything. We are the same people. We just put this uniform on to make sure that everybody can have a safe day and be able to go home to their loved ones every night and not have to worry about a danger of somebody doing a home invasion or driving crazy or being impaired, and crashing vehicles into people. That's why we're here to try to protect and help everybody throughout the valley. So, and same with like the governor or anybody else, these high position jobs, they forget there's a person behind this. I could be dressed up in just regular clothes and you just think I'm another Joe Blow out there, right? But then you see in the uniform, and I'm not saying that, we command respect or anything. Respect is something that's earned. You know what I mean? But we have honesty, integrity, and respect, not only by the public but our peers too. But we're at a higher level of commitment for people and a higher standard. We're always kept at a higher standard for everybody. So once we lose that standard of being honest, integrity, and everything, then we bring everything down, and I'm not saying that that's ever happened, like the 2% of officers that do get in trouble and then it's all over the place. They don't show all the good things that the officers, 98% of the officers are doing phenomenal jobs. You got to think we have, 1.5 million officers across I'm just throwing a number, but it's got to be like that with the sheriff's offices and everything throughout the whole thing. How many instances you really hear about officers getting into something? They're making arrests every day. They're writing tickets. They're
doing the best
absolutely
thing they can.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes being an officer so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you from knowing Governor Lombardo before and after, and knowing Governor Sisolak while he was in office, and then knowing him just after, it is very cool because like you look at them and you're like, oh, you actually like walk with 2 feet? You know what I'm saying? Like you actually do these type of things. You're like, I mow the lawn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
people tend to forget.
People
you know what
tend
I mean?
to forget,
Yeah,
and that's what makes what we do. I tell everybody that's why I love the Trooper Talk, because in the Trooper Talk we get to laugh and joke and do all these funny things that no one ever gets a chance to see you guys do. Because they're like, you guys aren't really human. You know what I'm saying? You just do things, and it's like, no, it's very special. And so I think people realize it, and they certainly come into the store all the time and love it. So, so anyway, and thank you to Justin Jones, the sheriff and the undersheriff. They were there and all that stuff.
Oh, it was tremendous. It was a good turnout, and there's a lot of retired Metro there too.
There was a lot of.
That was great to see those guys come back. And pay tribute to.
You know what I'm saying?
What I mean? Absolutely.
All right. We are working with our partner agencies planning repopulation for evacuated areas.
Now, this is up north. We had some major wildfires, and they were just south of Reno, and actually with the winds, we're pushing everything
into.
You
can smell it.
Absolutely. Pushing it closer to the city. So not only was Highway Patrol blocking off roads, but we were involved with the Sheriff's Office, Washoe County, and other Sheriff's offices up there to evacuate people, to get them out of those homes. Evacuate. And that's what's so terrible is because...
How do you evacuate? I mean,
they go to door to door. They actually go in there.
I'm saying, I'm just trying to think, like, psychologically in my mind, like, okay, the fire's over there. This is my house. The state trooper is here. He's banging on my door telling me to leave.
You work your whole life, and not only that, for the stuff that you have in your house, but the thing that really disturbs me is like heirlooms and stuff that you can never replace, right? I mean, and then you got to walk away from it because you can't stay there because either if the fire doesn't get you, and most of the time it's not the fire. Look in that that bottom left corner.
Yeah, like this.
You'll die of just asphyxiation of smoke. You know what I mean? You won't be able to breathe, and it's a bad situation for everybody. So what we do is we try to do it ahead of time, so we don't have these issues. We tell them lock it up, take your pets, what you can take with you right now, something valuable or whatever, and you got to leave, and then we all pray together that they can get it out and you can return to a home. But that's part of living where there's trees and wildfire. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, so if we look at that bottom picture there, you know, I don't know who this person is, so we're just speaking about it. You know what I mean? But people live in these type of areas because they don't want to be around people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
totally
beautiful. Respectful.
It's
you know
beautiful. I would do it myself.
They have 25 acres of land,
Yeah.
right? And they can get on their ATV and they can go and drive and they can do whatever they want. And
they love the wilderness. And a lot of things, it's sad because in California they've caught quite a few people. There's arsonists starting a lot of these fires.
Yeah.
See, some of these fires out here are caused by lightning. You know what I mean? We've had such a dry season, not only here in the Vegas Valley, and this summer was one of the hottest that we've ever had on record. I mean, it's just dried everything up, and we're having some major fire prevention things. You know, you always go by, if you go to Mount Charleston, you'll see the Smokey the Bear, and it'll say extreme or whatever because we're at extreme dryness. Well, it's the same up north, too, because they haven't been getting the rains that they normally get, and everything's drying up. And once those fires go up, these timbers go up just like that, just fast. And then it's hard to get out. And the bad thing being up in the north, too, and I see it more happening out here, too, is the winds. Once you have that wind blowing, it is just an infernal that just keeps going faster than they can even try to put it out. So it just becomes a disaster. Then you got to bring in the National Guard to assist and try to, now you got to find an off-site to bring people to stay, maybe like a school gymnasium, to set up cots or whatever, because there's not enough hotel rooms or stuff that's way out of the way. So it's a logistical problem too, but we've done enough of them that these guys have maps. They got everything planned. It's all incident command. Incident command takes over, and they're working with the fire, EMS, state troopers, sheriff's department. Everybody works together as a team to make it work, and it works out excellent. And I haven't heard anybody losing their lives or anything on this. It's just been fires, which is Been excellent. Yeah, very scary.
You would live there, right? Right, Sergeant Clifton?
I would live there in a heartbeat.
I could, yeah. But I was gonna say one of the things that we were at PMP was helping doing is just stationing on neighborhoods, making sure looting doesn't happen either, right? So people are evacuating their houses, right? And unfortunately, as we at PMP know, that there are bad people out there, and they will sneak through roadblocks and go break into people's houses.
Let me bring something else up since you brought that up. A long time ago, during the hurricane, was it Katrina or something? Yeah. We sent troopers, and other states sent troopers down to Louisiana.
Yep.
Just for that reason, because a majority of everybody moved out from the hurricane, right? Left their homes. Guess what? Bad guys were everywhere. We had cops everywhere to prevent looting and destroying businesses, buildings. It's crazy. People go crazy.
Too. They're all retired now, but people go out there. I remember.
So PMP. Somebody puts a face mask on, so that they can get through the smoke. Maybe they don't even care. And they go and they break into the people's houses.
They do. Yeah. Bad people do that.
And so...
That's why we have jobs.
That's why we have jobs.
And so you have to really monitor, though, these, like these type of people.
It's that, the mindset, the criminal mindset. It's hard for me to fathom, really, of just why you would do such a thing. But people do it. And I don't understand why you're just going to take advantage of someone's misfortune and steal their stuff while they're trying to save their own life. Like, that's very... I can't comprehend that.
And they're putting their own lives in danger. That's why we block off these areas, every road, but then they still find a way to get in or hide and then think they're going to steal from their neighbors or something else.
So the guy or family, they leave their house because they have to.
Yes.
Then somebody sneaks in because obviously there you hide behind 6 trees and nobody knows you're there. You know what I'm saying? And then you come back to your house thinking, oh, it's so great, our house is saved. But now the front door has been kicked in and everything that we thought we couldn't take with us is now gone.
Yeah,
but we don't want to scare people because that doesn't normally happen. I mean,
no.
The majority of the time, everything's safe and fine. But we're just letting you know that it does happen. Here and there. It's rare, but it does happen still.
The response would be, if you live in this type of area, you need to have preparedness pre-planned.
Always.
So that if something like this should ever happen, where you have to leave because of a fire or flooding. Probably the same idea. We could have the same conversation about Mount Charleston, because they have flooding and they have things up there that people that live there have to
evacuate every so often.
Be prepared.
Yeah, it's easy to cordon off Mount Charleston because there's literally only basically 2 roads up there, right? So, like for example, when we had the floods last year at Mount Charleston, PMP and NHP were up there working, closing the road, right? So we were basically checking every car that came by to see, are you a resident? You have your resident.
And we actually see your ID and see if you actually have a resident up there. We just don't let people say, oh, hey, I'm a resident, I need to get up there. No. You're going to have to show proof that you actually reside in the area.
So Mount Charleston was easy because there's 2 roads, right? You get into places like, on the map I saw Montreux up there, right? Montreux is a big old golf course community. Like, there's roads in and out of that everywhere, right? Fortunately, that didn't burn, right? But had it gotten close to that, they would have had to evacuate. That's thousands of homes with multiple ways in. That's hard for us to cover the whole thing. I mean, I'm sure they would have done the absolute best they could.
Right.
But, bad guys do bad guy things. There's funny stories from, I remember it was Frank Collada, the mobster, right?
Yes.
They robbed how many jewelry stores? The Hole in the Wall gang. Like, bad guys do bad guy things. And, we're not going to unfortunately catch them all. We will try our best to do so, but that's, again, like you said, that's why we have jobs.
Yeah.
And like I said last week, we'd like to work ourselves out of a job.
Right.
But
but parole and probation, as a department, we talked about it last week, and I always want to reiterate the fact that when people make choices and they end up under some type of supervision, that the job of the parole and probation is to help them find work, help them find a place to live that's safe, you know, try to help them get off the drugs if they're on the drug. Like, you know, you're not just taking someone who is now released and just throwing them out into the street and saying, well, we hope that we're going to come by. Like, you're there to help them throughout the whole process.
You're there to be that mentor, that guiding light, right? So to be an example in all cases, right? Like, and that's kind of the thing too, is with PNP, as we get to know our offenders, they understand more that we're also human beings, like we were talking about, right? We have our own families, we have our own passions and hobbies and things like that, right? And I don't want to say you're going to connect on the same level, right? But you get to learn, like, yes, I'm a human being too.
Yeah.
And you build that rapport with your offenders, so they start to trust you more, right? And that's extremely important, that you have trust between you and the offender you're dealing with. Because, I mean, if I'm just in a position of authority and I'm saying, hey, go do this, is he going to respect me? Not really. Like, he'll be like, oh, okay.
Only because I have to. And if I can get away with something, I'll get away with something.
Right.
But if you earn their trust, and they know that you're going to work with them, and a lot of times, remember, I think a few programs back, I brought up about how some of these offenders, if we can just get them away from going back to the same environment.
Yeah, right.
'Cause, like, I remember when we were talking about that, I said if we can get them away from the what got them in trouble in the first place, the people they're hanging out with, if a lot of times when we move them out of state or they go with a relative, we're getting them out of that environment where they could possibly get back in right away because either they're using drugs or it's a gang that steals or whatever. You're giving them a new lease on life and saying, hey, you know, birds of a feather flock together, right? So if you can break that chain and put them somewhere else, and then you got a good, I like to call them counselors too, because you know what? You're actually doing a lot of counseling and developing trust. And if you have that trust, it's going to go a long ways, because they're gonna take your advice, and they're gonna try to make it hard, because nobody wants to live in prison. Nobody wants to spend their lives there. Yeah, you know, people make mistakes, and sometimes it's a product of environment. Sometimes it's not. It's you know, everything's about choices. If they can make that different choice, and it can save them down in the future here. This would be a good thing for them to go, and it really helps us, because now they're clearing their records and they know that they're on the right path, and hopefully we don't have to deal with that person again. Where a lot of times he could tell you they get a lot of repeat offenders.
Oh yeah.
And it's just because once they get acclimated in prison, you know, they might have cousins, friends, or gang members that are there, and it's structured. But it's like a pecking order. They know their place. They feel comfortable there. They're a felon. They get out, and they can't get a job. It's tough to get a job. They don't acclimate to the community very well. So what happens is, and then they start hanging out with the same people, and they get back into trouble again. And it's just like a revolving cycle. We want to break that. And that's what they do a great job at is trying to find them a great job. Maybe put them somewhere else and promote them to a new life. That's how I'd want to put it. You know, you're starting a life over.
And I wanted to touch on it, and I want to hear your thoughts, because on the repeat offenders, because one of the things that we do have coming up, which I know is a very big thing for PNP, is Halloween.
Yes.
And so we had you on here last year, right before Halloween. And so I touch on what he said, and then talk to us about the repeat offenders and things of this nature when it comes to people of Halloween, of sort of the safe, that you're on top of that when it comes to Halloween.
Yeah, so the particular thing we worry about most with Halloween is our sex offenders, because our most vulnerable population, our children, are out there, right? And you have, it's unfortunate to say, but you have some parents who are like, go ahead and go, and their kid's like 8 by themselves, right? Don't do that, please. Go with your kids, but it happens, right? And if that kid's alone and Mr. Sex Offender is over here, like, that could end up very poorly. right? And it doesn't even have to be someone that we know is a sex offender. I mean, there's plenty of people out there who have committed crimes that we don't know about yet, right? But we do our best in educating our sex offender population, saying, hey, look, this is not acceptable. You're not going to be out there with kids on Halloween. You're going to be in your house, lights off. That's it.
And you make sure of that. Like you go to the places and you make sure, like,
yes, and we tell them all the same thing. Like, Halloween is coming. You have a no contact with children clause. You cannot be in an area where there are children, right? And that's very important. We reiterate that to say, hey, no. And we've had very good success, you know, knock on wood, in the last several years where we haven't had any arrests on Halloween, which is great, right? We don't want to arrest people on Halloween because that's a failure on our part by not getting out there and saying this is what you can and cannot do, right? And fortunately, like I said, we don't have that many instances that I can even think of in my 13 years where it's been a serious sex offender reoffense. Like, I mean, in years past, there used to be more restrictions. A couple of lawsuits have lightened restrictions on sex offenders, but we would arrest people in the past for having decorations because they weren't allowed to have that, and that's not the case anymore. But you know, it's just that mindset, educating, say, hey, look, you know, you have, and that's part of getting to know them too, is saying you have temptations, you have vices that lead you down the wrong path. And so something that I don't know we've touched on before is that as a sex offender officer, not only are you dealing with the offender, but a lot of times you're having conversations with their professional counselor as well. So they'll see you, but they're also seeing a licensed sex offender counselor who digs into their head and figures out what their triggers are, their you know, what makes them do this, right? And they have counteracting activities and things they can do. And so you're in contact with them, and you'll be like, hey, you know, your counselor over at Red Rock said this is what's going on. I need you to do this, right? So our sex offender officers have a much reduced caseload. I think right now they're in the 40s for their caseload, which is really that's pretty good. Yeah. So versus an officer who's just regular supervision with 90 or 100, right? So they can really get to know those people, and they can really get to understand how they work. And a lot of times with the sex offenders, those guys are on for life. There's a lot of lifetime sex offenders, or they have long terms. You can never get off. Yes. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways. There's life parole, which is supervision for the rest of your life. Then there's lifetime supervision, which is we are just keeping track of you. You're not having to report all the time. We're just making sure you're where you are, you're registered, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Like if they move out of state, they have to register that state where they moved at.
Yeah.
So they always have to have that register.
And you know, with all those offenders, if they want to move out of state, they are actually, for the most part, required to transfer their supervision and then be supervised by an agency in another state as well. So one of the biggest things for sex offenders is registration. They have to register within, I believe it's either 24 or 48 hours of moving. And moving is if they're gone from the residence more than like 3 days or something like that. So like if they're going to stay at a hotel for a couple of nights, they have to register at that hotel. Yeah.
You're keeping track of them at all times.
Because they've committed such an offense that now that they're deemed that they can't.
Yeah, and so many of them have the condition, I do believe exactly reads no unsupervised contact with minors in a secluded area. That's kind of the general thing. And you know, on Halloween night, what is a secluded area? The lights are off. You know, it's your front porch. One little kid walks up, like. That looks real bad. Right. And that's why we encourage you will not do this, because it's just when they have those conditions, it's a very, very, very slippery slope, and a lot of them have those triggers, right? They see a little kid, and that just their mind clicks, and it can go south bad.
And so when it comes to what you do, you supervise over the people that work for you that then supervise over all of these different.
We have plenty of offenders who have, say, a child abuse and neglect charges, or it was a sex offense that was pled down to a coercion or a child abuse and neglect, and they have those same conditions of no contact with minor children, right? And it's our job to enforce that, especially on Halloween night. We have to know these people's conditions and say, and that's when Halloween is I don't know what date it is this year off the top of my head, but we're going to be out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to let parents know too, just to be mindful, go out with your kids. Don't let your 8-year-old go out by himself.
Right.
Yes.
If you have a neighbor that you trust and they can, let's say you're working, let that neighbor or an adult that you're familiar with and trust to go with your kids. But that's one of the reasons that, a lot of these agencies put trunk or treat and everything because it's safe. Even my parents, and this is going a long ways ago, they would go out with us. But when we got home and we had our candy, we had to dump it out. And our parents would go through it, look at all the wrappers and make sure that somebody didn't stick something in it. It's sad that you have to do that. But I mean, and you usually go to the houses that you actually kind of know the people because you start going other places unknown, you're just asking for trouble. I mean, granted, when we're kids, we always want to go to these uppity up neighborhoods to get the giant candy bars or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's what kids are always dreaming of. You know what I mean?
The parents are like, "Listen, I'll buy you the candy bar, kid. Just here's $5. go to the 7-Eleven and buy the 6 candy bars." Yeah. But it's we have to be careful in today's world.
We do.
It is. It is.
You know what I'm saying?
It's sad. It's come down to that, but I just want parents to always be mindful. Hey, at least have an adult you can trust. Or go out with your kids, take that night off from work and make sure your kids have fun, but just be with them the entire time. You know what I mean? So there's more than just sex offenders out there. There's people that just want to, kidnap or God forbid, kill them or whatever because of some thrill, and we don't want that happening. And I'm not saying that's happening in the Vegas Valley.
But we have to be prepared.
But we have to be prepared, and we always have to plan ahead. And that's one of our biggest things here on Trooper Talk that I always wanted to initiate is always about planning. Be prepared. Be prepared for what you need to do.
And that's why it's wonderful that people can watch and they know that you're there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's not that they need you at the moment, but that it's wonderful to know that you're there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so it's very important. All right, let's see what else. Oof. What is this?
Now that's a tough one to talk about. I'll talk a little bit about it. What happened was this just happened the other day, 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. We had 2 semis that ended up doing a glancing crash up in Nye County. It was US 95 and 13-mile marker. And one semi was loaded with lumber and the other one with lithium batteries. Batteries caught fire. We had another incident a month ago with this lithium, the battery issues, right? So one of the things that we wanted, we actually did, we didn't allow the press to get up there close because of safety hazards and everything else. So we did some drone photos and we had a trooper take some pictures so they can kind of see what was going on. But thankfully, NDOT, our Nevada Division of Transportation, Highway Patrol, and we had hazmat teams and everybody come out and they got the road cleaned up. The road's going to have to be redone a little bit, construction, but it's open now, and they can kind of go around. You know what I mean? But it was a mess. It was a mess of a crash.
And the truck drivers are okay?
Yes. It was just minor injuries.
So grazing.
They grazed each other and ended up causing a crash. So yep.
We don't have too many places here in Las Vegas that have 2-lane roads like this, but I can tell you that we still have Tropicana and these type of roads and Decatur and all these, that there's plenty of places that people can cross over.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Oh, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up too, since we had this crash up here. These 2-lane highways, if you start getting tired, either pull over, find a place to nap, or because it's no different than being a drunk driver and going into the wrong lanes. And we have so many head-on crashes. And another thing is people take chances. They get tired of being behind these semis, right? and they will pass on the double lines, which double line you can't pass, right?
Yeah.
And they're putting lives at risk, not only the person you're passing, but the people coming head on towards you. And we have a lot of head-on collisions from impatient people wanting to make dangerous passes. And that's one thing I don't like about two-lane highways. I wish, but it comes down to cost factor and everything else. You know what I mean? They can't afford, especially out in your rural Nevada, you're not going to put double lanes everywhere. So we still have these type of lanes, but I want to mention to people that, hey, if you start getting tired, you know, pull off in the next town and sleep it off, or pull over and take a 20-minute nap, or stop at a gas station. You know, I hate to have you say, hey, get caffeine and all that, but get something where you're alert.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we can't have, you know, like a head-on collision or other things happen, because it's dangerous on those two-lane roads if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Or just driving dangerously.
Yeah.
Vehicular manslaughter
Mm-hmm.
is a real thing.
Yes.
People that are convicted of these type of crimes, not all the time, and I'm not saying this, right, but they can end up on parole or probation
Oh yeah.
for activities because the driving is a right to drive,
Yes.
It's a privilege. Yep.
right, privilege, right? And
I mean, right to drive, not
right
privilege.
to drive.
Yeah,
But these are real activities that you have seen where they're good people. Like there's nothing, like they're not, they haven't done crimes their whole life or anything like this. This may have been the first crime that they have ever committed.
Yeah.
And now they're on parole and probation, and there's very big consequences.
So I actually have a very relevant example, because I got a notice of hearing yesterday for a DUI case where it was a very well-off doctor was involved in a DUI, substantial bodily injury, where the victim was owed $460,000 in restitution. That's a lot of money. The guy actually paid it, but we're still, this happened in 2016, I believe. And I got a notice of hearing yesterday in 2024. We're 8 years past it, and we're still basically in litigation of this case. 8 years, 460 or 80, whatever it was, $1,000 later, it's still going on. It's not a, oh, I had a bad day. No, you've had a bad 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, this guy, I don't know him personally. He's supervised by one of my staff. But I was just like, I literally said, are you kidding me? Because I got another notice of hearing. I'm like, this case just doesn't stop giving. And that restitution doesn't even account for his costs, his legal fees, because every time this notice of hearing comes up, he's got to pay that attorney some more money. And
you know what? There's consequences for every choice that you make in life. You know what I mean? And let's say that you're running late. Does that really justify speeding? And what's that speeding going to do to, you know what I mean?
Goodness.
And if you end up killing somebody, and then ended up dealing like with something like that.
I can only imagine how much stress you would put on your mind. That, like, you know, again, I don't know how I would feel, but if I ever had to think about it, it would be like, I just want this over with so I can figure out how to move on. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, what do we need to do? And so, like, like hearing these type of things would just rip my heart out.
Yeah.
Like,
you know,
as a person.
I just kind of go off what he was saying, like speeding, running late behind, drinking, whatever. Like I saw when I was in the academy, I had to go to Carson City for my academy. I saw one of these head-on collisions myself, right? Like it had happened a little bit of time before I get there, but you know, we get stopped by the troopers and they're making everyone turn around. You just see these mangled vehicles in the middle of US 95. This happens to me in Nye County. I think I was somewhere in Esmeralda County up there, and Esmeralda County has one road through it, US 95, so it's turning around going
and that's why it's a
all the way
major
back.
through. This goes
Yeah.
all the way up to the governor's office. When you have to
Sure
shut this
does.
down because of interstate commerce, because of all the trucks and everything,
Yeah.
it's a big issue. You know what I
Huge.
mean? It affects the economy, affects everything, and people don't realize that because a lot of these main thoroughfares is the only way to get around.
Yeah.
Like we had to turn around people at Indian Springs.
Oh yeah.
This was like for over 12 hours or whatever. And then we had to have everybody get off State Route 160 to go back through Pahrump to get all the way down.
Yep.
Because once that thoroughfare is blocked off, there's nowhere else to go. There's no other roads. I mean, you got to take long roads to get around, or you're not getting around.
There are so many beautiful and wonderful parts of this state, but almost all of them, once you leave Las Vegas, Reno, or Carson City, are just like this.
And if something happens, it's going to be shut down for a while. And
Yeah.
people just have to be patient because we have to do our investigations
Yeah.
and the cleanups and all this stuff. It just takes time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
so
imagine how the
scared.
cleanup took for this thing.
Oh yeah, they started right away, and
Yeah.
you know, it's
But I
and
mean,
they had to
that-
wait for hazmat crews to come out just because of the batteries, all that. So,
Yeah, but I would just be like scared.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't drive these roads unless I had a Sherman tank. Most important thing is to always be in defensive driving.
Mhm.
So I don't say it to scare anybody, but I would say that like just myself on a personal level, does that make sense?
Mhm.
It would be very difficult because I always am thinking about the road ahead and stuff like that. So it would be very, very difficult to travel these type of roads.
But you should be
I-
thinking the road ahead and what you would do.
I give
and,
these
you know,
guys a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For like you said, having one road traveling through
the desert out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually about it was right before I had the little boy, but I was driving home in my personal car one night. I was on State Route 157 going up towards Kyle Canyon Road, right? And there's a bend about 5 miles up there. It bends. I'm making the turn. The car coming at me is not.
Yes.
And so I literally go off the road into the dirt.
Yes.
This guy goes straight and then corrects at the last second. And I was like, holy crap, you know what just happened to me? I turn around. I called dispatch and said, hey, I'm following a drunk driver. I need your assistance. Because this dude was literally just going like this. I mean, we made it all the way from mile marker 15 up there on Kyle Canyon Road down to 95 in Craig before I got a trooper behind me. And I mean, that
And the troopers are coming. It's
They're
just a
coming.
matter that they're somewhere in the valley that they
right.
got to get up there.
This was
Yeah.
late at night. It was probably around midnight.
Mhm.
And, they got other things they have to do. But I back off from the car. The trooper gets there. He gets his probable cause and he pulls them over, right? And it actually turns out the guy wasn't drunk. He was just very old and lost. But you never know. He wasn't even a drunk driver. He could have killed me.
Yes.
Well, not only that, just going too fast around those
Yeah.
corners and not making your corner. There could be a series of things. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? There's a lot of times I pulled over people and I thought, oh, they're drunk for sure. No,
Yeah.
just bad driving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
driving, right.
Absolutely not paying attention. Distracted driving. We talked about that numerous times.
Distracted driving.
Dealing with cell phones and the radios and not even watching what you're doing. I mean, it just takes seconds,
Yes.
not even a second,
Yes.
to actually get in a major crash.
And one
So-
of the most dangerous things I would say about this road in particular, US 95, US 93 on the eastern side of the state, is that people who travel a lot, they get used to it. I drove this road, I don't know how many times going to Carson City for the academy. I knew every bump.
Yeah,
in the
you
road,
know
right?
everywhere to go.
You know everywhere to
Absolutely.
go, and you get
Oh.
comfortable, and you're like, oh, I can make that pass.
Mhm.
Can you?
Right.
So you just really can't be comfortable. You just, as long as you're aware and you're paying attention, there's nothing wrong with these roads. Just give yourself distance between that truck.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Give yourself this.
Give yourself the
Some
don't be
reaction
tailgating the
time.
guy.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
It's so important.
Reaction
Don't
time.
and don't tailgate these trucks.
No, they can't see you.
They can't see you.
You know what I mean? Like they're on their path,
Yes.
and they're very respectful.
Even a
And-
couple
and-
car
and
lengths
they're just-
behind, sometimes they
right.
can't see you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So-
amazing. I
so
mean,
it-
if you back up even a little bit further, and you got to remember, if let's say you're in front of them and you start stopping, they don't have the stopping power. You know,
No.
you never see trucks tailing people because they're full of load. They might be 30, 45,000 pounds, right? They cannot stop on a dime like a car can. And I'm not saying a car can even
No.
stop on a dime, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
they require so much more length before, distance. It's all distance and time to actually come to a stop. So that's why you see a lot of truckers that are very safe. They don't want to lose those loads. They're expensive. Yes. And people driving cars, they just don't understand that. They think they're going to stop you. And if you're going to pull in front of a truck and then stop right away and then give them that distance, what do you think is going to happen?
75 miles an hour in the pickup truck, you're in a missile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Any car's a missile.
70 miles an hour in one of those tractor trailers, I can only imagine. You know what I'm saying?
If that was a car that got hit by that truck, they'd be obliterated.
Yeah.
Right.
Your only hope would be is that you bounce off that thing and fly in the desert.
Yeah.
But that could just go right through your vehicle.
Well, we're thankful that they are here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
The only loss was product or whatever.
Product, just product.
Certainly can be replaced, or you know what I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Minor injuries, but it just shows you. I don't know the story of the investigation at this time, so I can't really speak on it. But I'm sure maybe somebody was a little too tired, started coming in the next lane. You know what I mean? And that's how quick it happens. It happens fast.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much. You know what I mean? Like
pleasure.
It's really important. We are really coming up to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that people need to know that Nevada State Police is there. They're doing the absolute best that they possibly can in all fronts. You know what I mean? From the leadership all the way down.
Yep.
The one thing that I wanted to touch on, we have the National Night Out.
I was just going to bring that up before you got done. Yeah.
So I'll bring that up, and then I will just turn it over to you.
All right.
Well, you know what? Coming October 7th, which is a Tuesday.
8th.
Correction. Right. October 8th, which is a Tuesday, from 4:30 to 7:30. Myself, if you want to meet me, or Chris.
You look at that. They can take a photo with you guys.
Right. We're gonna be at the Summerlin, downtown Summerlin. We're gonna be a host. We're not gonna be the host. We're gonna be with Las Vegas Metro is putting their site up there. National Night Out is just not only there. We got Henderson. We have North Las Vegas. And we have Boulder City, police agencies all over. And Metros, that's not their only one. They have one in the Northeast, Northwest. You'll just have to look it up. But I think next time when we do Trooper Talk, I'll try to get some addresses that we can put out so we can have people out there, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But if people want to prepare now, October 8th, Tuesday from 4:30 to 7:30, myself and Chris, we're going to have a nice setup out there. Give some stuff out to the kids, kind of get ready for Halloween. We're excited for that. So if you want to drop by the Highway Patrol booth or Parole and Probation, we're together out there, and we're looking to have a good time.
We're going to have a good time, 100% a family event. There's going to be, I don't want to say vendors, there's going to be displays from us, from Metro, from fire, from businesses. No one's trying to sell you anything.
It's about getting together with our community as police agencies.
Yeah.
And getting to know the police agencies and the people that work there. And if you have any questions for us and stuff like that, we can interact. And if you have comments or things you want us to talk about, or, come bring it. We'd love to talk with you.
He's going to have the Mustang there?
Yep. We'll have the new Ford Mustang that I'm driving out there. So absolutely. So
they can take a photo.
Absolutely. They can take all the photos they want. So absolutely.
It's important. You know what I mean? Like coming back to that same thing that
Bring
we
the
talked
kids.
about, in the beginning, that you guys are regular guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is your job, and this is what you do, and you just follow the law. You know what I mean? And so it's just, it is what it is. And so with the same weapons now.
That's true.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? All right, so next week, we got to get the addresses for the National Night Out.
Yeah, I'm going to try to contact a lot of the agencies
they'll
so I
go
can
on
get it.
to Twitter, though? Will you put them on the Twitter, or you won't put them on the Twitter?
I don't know if I'll be able to, but what I can do is, if we can, nobody's got to see Johnny yet, but maybe we can have Johnny put up all the addresses on the big screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we can talk about it. And like I said, we got North Las Vegas, we got Henderson, we got Metros at numerous locations. Highway Patrol is going to be also at North Las Vegas and Henderson, and ourselves are going to be in Summerlin. So we're going to just, we'll make a big list. We'll put it on, have Johnny put it on there for the screen so people want to attend. I think most of them will be about the same time, but I'll try to get the time zones for that too.
I think they're all the same, that 4:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock time frame.
He's very excited. You hear he keeps talking about it, like how you get to hang out together.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're going to have a good time. We've
Local
been planning
celebrities
this.
here. So.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I think it's fantastic. You know
We've been planning this, you know, and we're going to have one of our commercial vehicles there with us.
Okay.
So we'll have a couple of tents set up and
they get
give some
few
stuff
pieces
out.
of candy or something like that.
Yeah, bring the kids. I mean, we're going to have stickers. You know, just bring the family. They'll get to probably see Metro SWAT trucks and all that stuff. You know, the kids love that stuff. So it'll all be on display.
Stay off the fire trucks.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible. Don't do that. Hopefully our firemen will be there. So
they will.
Our good partners.
All right, and you'll have stuff to give away and stuff.
Absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, now
appreciate it, Neil.
All right, see you soon.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.